People who fell out with their best/close friend, what killed it? Friends for 20 years. Helped her with rides, money, clothes, etc. The first time I asked her for anything was after my husband had brain surgery and needed meds the local pharmacy didn't have. I couldn't leave him alone and could not take him with me, so I asked her to watch him for an hour. She said no, she wanted to go to the store with her BF. I never talked to her again. And thank goodness she didn't have the balls to show up to my husband's funeral. I was BFF with mine from age 16 to 30. It slowly became apparent that she was a narcissist. I loved her anyway, stupid me. When we were 30 we were all out at a restaurant and I went to use the bathroom. For some reason I could hear her voice clear as day and she was taking so much shit about me. I came out of the restroom, dropped some money on the table and told her to suck my ass. I left and never looked back. She tried to message me to tell me I was crazy. I blocked her. Last 13 years without her have been great. She warned me about my fiancé at the time, now ex-wife, and I didn't listen to her. My fiancé didn't like that and told me to pick her or my friend. I picked my fiancé and then she eventually cheated on me multiple times, including while we had an infant at home. Never been more wrong in my life. Best friends for 12 years. She was a complete bridezilla. Long story short, I was maid of honor and was expected to pay for multiple showers, ended up paying for part of her dress, and was asked to plan/pay for the entire bachelorette trip. I was in the process of building a house, so I said no to the parties and trip, paying not planning/attending, and was swiftly booted from the wedding. Funny part was, the guy had been cheating on her and she knew and told me she was gonna leave him. She didn't. She cheated on him back. He found out while I was with them, they broke up. Couple weeks later I got a call they were engaged. So bizarre. I was drugged at a bar by a creepy dude, not our friend but a friend of a friend. I was basically a walking zombie. I was featured on 2 of my friends' Snap story of me rolling around on the floor speaking incoherently. We all went back to my best friend's place and the creepy guy followed. My other friend kept telling her to kick him out of her place and got bad vibes. She then left me alone in her living room with the guy while she had sex with some other guy. I was then sexually assaulted. You can only imagine my confusion waking up in the morning and piecing things together. The friend that was trying to kick the guy out, called me and told me to look up his name online. He was being charged and going to be serving time in prison for child sexual abuse. I felt left down by my friends that night. I haven't been the same since. A part of me died that night, along with my best friend of 20 years. They moved and stopping putting any effort into the relationship whatsoever. I offered to go there, I offered to fly them here, they hadn't secured work yet, and they never made time. They never reached out. When I finally wrote and said it seemed apparent they'd lost interest in the relationship and I respected that but needed to move on rather than wait indefinitely, they refused to acknowledge anything had changed, and told me I sounded crazy. I asked why I hadn't heard from them or seen them in a year and a half. No response. Reality is subjective, as they say. She adopted a pit bull, let it off leash immediately during the very first meeting with my dog, and her dog instantly attacked mine. Almost ripped her ear off. I had to literally beat the shit out of that pit bull to get it to release my dog. My ex-best friend just stood there screaming and did nothing. The next day she reported my dog to the county as the aggressor. Luckily my dog's vet vouched that she was a sweet, completely non-aggressive dog. She also submitted evidence of all of the injuries my dog had, while the pit bull only had injuries from me, when I had to beat it to stop it from murdering my dog. Luckily my dog ended up having her name cleared, but that instantly killed a 12-year friendship. I never spoke to her again. We were best friends in high school. I moved in with him in 2015 because I needed a place to stay, and his father offered to let me rent out a spare bedroom for super cheap. Within 5 months, my friend made a romantic/sexual pass at me. I was not interested. This eventually escalated into fighting every day, which ended with him threatening to slit my throat with a knife. I left that night and have never looked back. He cheated on his girlfriend a bunch. I couldn't support that, but at the end of the day it was none of my business. He acted like it was no big thing and said, "I just need to get some strange every now and then. Afterwards our relationship is stronger than ever." Whatever, man. None of my business. But then she cheated on him and it led her to finally leave him. He acted like it was the biggest betrayal he'd ever faced and he couldn't understand what would make her do such a thing to him. Again, none of my business. But at some point I just had to ask myself if that's really the kind of person I wanted in my life. I don't. I met her through one of my guy friends that I used to work with. We became extremely close. Hung out all the time, talked about our issues. Thought I really knew her as a person. Then a year after she married my friend, she cheated on him with an ex and just left to be with the ex and his family. My guy friend was heartbroken and so was his daughter who she had grown close to. I refused to even talk to her after that. Cheating isn't something I will overlook or condone. They literally wanted to be me. They started dressing, acting like me and competing with me. Last straw was trying to basically take over my life by purposely not inviting me out in an attempt to isolate me from friends and would try to make a pass at any guy I expressed an interest in. So overall found out they were crazy and just wanted reactions from me, so I cut them off and life's been great since, although they still stalk my social media. Best friend and I met a couple of girls late night. I didn't hit it off with the girl I met but he did with his. He dated her for a few months and during that time he shared some weed. She broke up with him and 6 months later he found out she was an informant because he got arrested and sent to jail for 3 years. I supported him in jail, visiting every couple of weeks and dropping off commissary goods that were acceptable. The day he gets out I drive to pick him up. First place he wants to go is to someone's house and buy some weed/hang out with a friend. No hanging out with me. No thanks, just a free ride. Stung like hell. Didn't hear back from him for a few weeks when he needed another ride. I just hung up the phone and stared at the wall for an hour. I met the best friend I've ever had in high school and we remained super close in college, but during our last year I became very depressed and withdrew super hard socially. It took a few years for me to bounce back and by then we had grown too far apart. We've spoken about it and she says she understands but we've never really recovered. There is too much distance. It's honestly one of my bigger regrets in life. I miss her all the time. My best friend in high school became a drug dealer. We both played basketball, and his parents weren't well off and pretty absent, so he was always over at my family's house. If we weren't playing basketball together, we were hanging out playing video games, going to parties, getting into typical teenage mischief. Once we got to our final year of high school, he broke his leg really bad and missed the entire season. He had a scholarship offer that was withdrawn after his injury. He became depressed and started ghosting me. He started hanging out with older gangsters from his community and started dealing drugs, then dropped out of high school. He had about 2 months before graduation. After high school, I went to university on an athletic scholarship and lost almost all contact with him. I would run into him a handful of times while I was in undergrad, usually at a nightclub. He would be wearing designer clothes and dropping a couple $1,000s in cash on bottle service/drinks surrounded by his crew. He would always come say hi to me and buy me a drink, or invite me to his table, but it just wasn't the same. He had changed so much from the person I knew. He wound up getting caught in a police sting operation targeting the Hells Angels. He got caught on video/audio selling a couple of kilograms of cocaine to an informant. He was sentenced to 4 or 5 years of jail, if I remember correctly. I haven't spoken/seen him since. I have friends who still live in the city where this all took place. and they see him around every once in a while since he got out of jail. They never had a chance to speak with him, but apparently, he drives around in a rather expensive Mercedes. I have no idea if he turned his life around or is still up to his old games. He got married and his wife decided I was not the kind of person that they want in their mutual lives moving forward. I'd never even met her, they lived in another country at the time, but he and I were friends for 20 years. Strictly, absolutely, never crossed a line platonic, it'd be like kissing your brother, gross. I still get sad every birthday because his midnight phone call was the highlight of my year.